Hi, this is Sarah from Made on the Common again, and in this video I'm going to take you through the latest update to my Etsy bookkeeping spreadsheets. So this update is important to you if you've got any of the automated bookkeeping templates that cover your Etsy sales and fees. So these are the ones where you copy and paste in your payment account statement and your order information, and your monthly sales and fees are calculated for you. So I'm going to cover what's changed on Etsy and why this meant that an update was needed to the bookkeeping templates. I'll also take you through what your new bookkeeping spreadsheet will look like and the key changes to the version that you've got at the moment. And then how to get hold of your new update if you've already got a Made on the Common template, and also how you can get one if you're brand new to my templates. So I do have to say I am excited about the changes that Etsy have made. I could have done without the work, but I think it's a great step forward in terms of what you can see, and that you can actually now see accurate sales numbers, particularly your sales numbers, on your Etsy account without having to go through an awful lot of work to get there. So I do think it's worth it in the end. Just to be absolutely clear, unfortunately your existing template just won't work after December 2021, particularly in terms of your sales numbers, and this is due to the changes that Etsy have made in their data. So you will need to download the updated version and start using this one to make sure that your sales and fees are still showing up properly. First things first, let's have a look at what's changed on Etsy and why this impacts your current spreadsheet. If you're on my email list and have had any of my emails over the last month, you'll know that I woke up on New Year's Day to a raft of emails from customers saying that their bookkeeping templates weren't picking up the right numbers and not into the right places anyway. So I did panic, as you can imagine, at this stage, but then found out that Etsy had changed the format of their payment account, and it was this that was causing major issues with how the templates worked. Now luckily some of those changes were later reversed, so everything that affected your numbers for last year was put back to how it was before, which gave me a bit of breathing space and meant that you could still do your 2021 bookkeeping without having to panic that kind of the later months didn't work anymore. But the changes they made do still apply from January onwards, and this means that most of your numbers will behave differently, and pretty crucially your sales won't show up properly from January 2022 onwards. So that's why I had to get to work pretty quickly to get this fixed for you. So if we have a look on Etsy, I can show you what's changed. I will do a more detailed review of the new payment account in another video, and I'll link to that when it's available, but for now I'll just focus on the key changes and the ones that impact you. So if you go and have a look at your payment account on Etsy, so go to Finances, then Payment Account, the first thing you notice is that the summary at the top of the sheet, which they're now calling your activity statement, looks different to how it looked in December, and the changes they've made only apply from January, so you still get the old format from December and prior, but you get the new format from January. So up until the end of December, you just saw two key figures at the top. You saw your sales and credits and then fees and taxes. From January onwards, you now see four kind of buckets of information. So you've got your sales, you get your fees separately, seller services, which is basically just marketing, and your subscription if you pay an Etsy subscription. And then any postage or shipping labels that you've bought on Etsy will show up here as well. So this is, it's a lot clearer, but it's actually the numbers themselves that have changed as well. And this is what's more important really. So if we go back to December and look at the number that you saw under sales and credits, there were a lot of problems with this number. It wasn't an accurate number that you could use in anything. So that number included any taxes and VAT that Etsy had added. It didn't include any refunds, so effectively it was like a gross sales number before your refunds were issued. And it also had payment processing fees netted off that total. So it wasn't even really a sales number, it was a kind of a sales less payments number. So it wasn't very useful at all. This has now changed and is a lot more meaningful. So the sales that you now see from January onwards you can see your total sales, and this includes the taxes that Etsy have added, the taxes that they then remit themselves. It does include refunds, so as soon as you show a refund, that will show up in here. And then that tax that was added is taken off again, so it gives you kind of the big number at the top is actually a nice net figure of the sales that you've actually earned on Etsy. The other important change is that the payment processing fees are no longer netted off this number. They show up under fees, which is really where they should be. Similarly, if we look at fees, you'll see back in December there were the same problems with your fees as with your sales. So they didn't include any credits for refunds that you'd given. The processing fees were obviously missing because these had been netted off your sales, and all fee types were shown together. So this included your fees plus your marketing and also any shipping labels that you'd bought. From January onwards, you get 3 different sections for your fees, which makes it a little bit clearer. So your fees are kind of the compulsory fees that you can't avoid. Seller services then include your marketing, which is kind of optional, although not always with off-site ads. And then your postage labels, again, are shown separately. It does include your processing fees, and also if you've given refunds and had a credit back on your fees, those will be detailed out in here as well. So far clearer and more transparent. So the new layout's good, but this in itself didn't really affect anything in my bookkeeping spreadsheets because this is just a summary of the data. It's the data itself that was causing the issue. As they say, the devil's always in the detail. So there are 2 main changes to how your data shows up, and you can see this if you scan down through the detailed list of transactions. So in December and prior, all of your fee types used to have a different type. So you'd see transaction, listing, fee for regulatory, you would see postage label, shipping label, all of those things showed up under the type column, and you can see this under the December column here. If we look against January, you'll see that all of the different fee types now just say fee. All of your taxes just say VAT or GST or tax, and all of your shipping labels now just come showing up as shipping. So whilst this isn't a major change, it unfortunately affects how they're picked up in the template, because I used to use the type column to split your fees out into all of the different sections. So the information has now moved over into the next column, which is the title column, and so I needed to change all of the formulas in the file to pick this up. The biggest change though is with your sales. So this is the change that unfortunately means that your sales won't show up after December. So the way that sales used to show up in your payment account was as a single line for each sale, and I could use this to pull out all of the various different bits of information that I needed. So the first column showed the total amount for the sale, including any tax that Etsy had added onto it. So in this case, this would be the £31.80. You then had the processing fees taken off, so I could pull that out and put that into your fees under processing. And then the net amount, which actually, if you add those 2 things up, you'll see that they don't add to £25.03. And that's because the tax that Etsy had added is kind of hiddenly stripped out by Etsy. And I could use this to tell me how much tax to take out and give you your true net sales figure. So if I added back up the 25 and the 147, that would give me the true amount of your sales that I wanted to show in your reports. This has been completely changed by Etsy now, and there are now 3 lines for each sale. So I think this is great for you looking on Etsy. It's far more transparent and it's immediately obvious what's been deducted off your sale amount. It was a complete nightmare for me to try and add these 3 lines back together again to get to your true sale figure. As you can see, one of them says sale, one of them says fee, and one of them says tax. And I needed to pull all of those 3 lines back together to give you a true sale number. I'm really pleased to say it took me a while and it was a little bit technical, but it's figured out, and your template now picks all your figures up perfectly and will drop them into the right place exactly as your old template did. So let's go and take a look at the spreadsheet and I'll show you all of the changes that have just been made. Okay, so before we get into the detail, I just want to make it totally clear that the new versions will work for both before and after the changes made by Etsy. So you can copy over your data from your existing file and use the new one for any month from October 2018 onwards, just as before. So there's no need for you to have to run two different files, unless of course you want to keep each year completely separately. And if you're looking at the file and thinking, oh, well, my template looks a little bit different to this, that's because I'm looking at the version that's for non-VAT registered sellers, so mainly in UK, Australia and Europe. If you're using the US version or the Canada version, or even the VAT registered version for UK sellers, then you might see a few different things, but the basic principles and the changes that I've made will equally apply to you, whichever version you're using. So the overall structure of your file will be exactly the same with one exception, and that's that you'll see the order summary, which used to appear before other income, has disappeared. So the information that was contained on there hasn't gone, it's just moved to this new look Etsy summary. And you'll see this now contains both your payment account information and your order file information. So the best news is that the new file works exactly the same as your old file, and you add your data in exactly the same way. So if we start on the Start Here page, obviously, the only change you'll see here is with the shipping and the tax lines that you see here. Don't do any changes to that. You now no longer have to choose how your postage labels appear in your account, because everything now shows up as shipping. And I've also set it up to pick up any old descriptions, so you don't need to choose anything here. Similarly with the tax, again, Etsy have changed this slightly. So if you used to just select the tax option, you don't need to pick that one anymore. It will get picked up automatically. So that's disappeared from this option here. And you just see the options that most people will need to choose from. Put that back to VAT. And this only applies, this is obviously the tax that you pay on fees. If you don't pay tax on your fees, like in the US version, then you don't need to worry about that. You can just choose the blank option. Other than that, nothing's changed on this sheet. On the Etsy payment sheet, you'll see the basic layout is exactly the same. Some of these columns might have changed, and you might see a lot more columns in this, again, depending on which version you're using. But these are all the new formulas that I've needed to use. So fee type and Etsy tax are the new columns, and I need those to pick up the information. You just add your data in exactly the same way. So starting from date and going across to net, whatever columns they are in your template, you just need to kind of make sure you mirror them in your new one. The order file, there's no changes at all on this sheet. It should look exactly as in your current sheet. Again, you might have more columns here depending on which version you're using, but just add your information under the sale date column, whichever one that is, even if it's right over here. If you're using the VAT registered version, then this is the order item file, not the order file. But again, there's absolutely no changes. So the big changes are on this new Etsy summary. So previously, you would have had a sheet perhaps called payment account check or Etsy payments check, and then you had a separate order summary sheet. These are now combined, so at the top of the page you get the Etsy payment summary, which picks up from your payment account file, and at the bottom down here you get the order summary. And there should be no change to your order summary. That should pretty much give you exactly the same as you had before. So the big change is on this top section, and the format of this has now changed to mirror what you see on Etsy from January onwards. So now obviously the changes Etsy made, you can only see that new format from January. On this file you can actually see your figures going backwards, so not only January on here, but you can see going all the way back. I've kind of replicated the format so that you get a nice overview. The other thing that I've added just down here is old style Etsy payment account numbers. So these should mirror what you see on Etsy up to the end of December. I haven't included it for onwards because obviously these numbers then should match exactly what you see on Etsy, but prior to December. So with all the kind of inaccuracies that are in this number, so it doesn't include refunds, it is netted of your processing fees and kind of and includes tax. But hopefully that number down there should match what you see on Etsy if you looked at November 21. The other just thing I want to know is that these numbers up here, if you receive tax on your sales that you then have to pay to the authorities, for example, if you're VAT registered, if you pay sales tax to your state in the US, or if you pay one of the Canadian taxes like GST, QST to your local province, these numbers are included up here. You will then see a section before we get to the 12-month report where that tax will be stripped back out again. And you can see that if we look here on the VAT registered format, you see the VAT is stripped back out of these numbers. But going back, if I just switch back to the non-tax UK one, you then get the summary of the figures to go into your 12-month report. This should match up with what you saw previously. So if you looked back at your old file for up to December, these numbers should all be the same. The only difference is that, again, if you paid tax on your fees, you used to see that as a fourth line in your total fees and charges. That tax is now included within this line, and that's because I wanted to match it up with the line up here. But this total fees and charges line should be exactly the same as you had before. If it's not, of course, please let me know. But hopefully this makes it far easier to check your numbers back on Etsy and be confident that you've got the right numbers into your file. I use this net Etsy profit number quite a lot. You can see this gets mirrored there, and up here, and again that should match what's at the very top of your activity summary from January onwards at least. So going forward, again, it should be much easier to be happy that you've got the right numbers into your file. Like I say, at the bottom, it just then goes into your order summary information, which used to be on a separate tab. The reason why I changed that is because I've been doing a lot more work on multi-platform bookkeeping templates. So if you sell on more than just Etsy, you get multiple sheets and multiple datas and multiple summaries going through here, and so it made a lot more sense to just consolidate everything back to a single Etsy summary sheet. So hopefully that makes sense to you. The great news is that the rest of the file will look exactly the same. There are no changes, so I'm not going to go through any of the other sheets. It should exactly mirror what you had before, and the numbers should all agree. Again, if not, please let me know and I'll have a look at what's not working. Hopefully you now understand why the changes were needed and you're looking forward to getting your new file. So this is really easy to do and it's absolutely free as long as you're using one of the standard, so a not customised version of the file. So you just need to go to your template hub where you'll find the new spreadsheet and all of the instructions plus links to any other help that you might need. Just make sure you're on my email list, which hopefully you are if you're watching this video, and that you've registered your template purchase. You don't need to register it again if you've already done that. As soon as I've got your details, you'll then get an email with instructions on where to go and how to download your information. If you're new to Made on the Comment and don't have one of the templates yet but think it's something that you might need, apologies for the blurry nature of this slide, but you can find all of the versions that I currently have available, both for Etsy and for combined Etsy and Shopify, over in our Etsy shop at madeonthecommon.etsy.com. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching even. I have to say I'm very relieved January has come to an end and I've reached the other side of the work needed to do to get these updates working again. But I do think the changes that Etsy have made are going to be good in the long run. They're a massive step forward in terms of making your numbers more transparent and understandable. I just hope they don't rewrite the orders file next month and send me back to square one. But anyway, as always, any questions, just email and ask away, and I'll be very pleased to help.